Hey guys, Mike Wiseman with CIR Realty. Today we are doing a head-to-head battle of newer neighborhoods in Red Deer, Alberta. The criteria for neighborhoods chosen for this video will be similar to our last video. This time we will be focusing on areas that were developed more or less after 1990. We have broken it down into 7 main categories, which are then tallied up to give an overall score for each neighborhood. These categories are safety. This is based on the reddeer.ca crime map for the past 14 days outlining incidents in that neighborhood. Walk score. We pulled this information from walkscore.com and Google Maps. School accessibility. We are using public elementary schools as our target, and any other schools that are in the vicinity will be added for bonus points. Highway accessibility. We felt this is important to include for people who take off on the weekends and for out-of-town workers. Neighborhood layout. This adds to the overall value of a neighborhood and reflects in an area's overall saleability. Upkeep of homes. What neighboring properties look like. Overall resale. We took into consideration the average sale price as well as the number of sales in an area to come up with our value. This time we are going to start with the oldest neighborhood and work our way to the newest neighborhood in a head-to-head competition to see which neighborhood stacks up as the best overall in town. Here we go. First up, we have Deer Park vs. Rosedale. These are similar era neighborhoods, but Deer Park fared much worse in the safety score, with 7 incidents in the past 14 days versus only 2 in Rosedale. However, walk score and proximity to parks was far superior in Deer Park, and Deer Park had a slight edge on proximity to highway. Neighborhood layout and upkeep was comparable, and overall resale was also similar, but with an average home sale value of nearly $360,000, about $15,000 higher than Deer Park, Rosedale ekes out a narrow victory. Next up is Kentwood. Crime stats were a touch above Rosedale, while walk score and proximity to schools and highway were superior in Kentwood. Neighborhood upkeep and layout were comparable, and resale was superior in Rosedale. However, due to proximity to schools, highway, and walk score being superior, Kentwood takes the win here. Johnstone Park is up next, another North End neighborhood very close to Kentwood. Johnstone started off in a hole with 5 incidents in the past 14 days on the crime score. It also scored lower in the walk score, proximity to schools, and neighborhood layout categories. Proximity to highway was superior in Johnstone, and upkeep was comparable to Kentwood. Resale scored lower in Johnstone, meaning Kentwood keeps the crown this round. Heading south, we face Lancaster-Laredo next. I lumped these two together, but arguably we could break them apart due to Laredo being notably newer, albeit directly connected. Crime score actually fared quite poorly here, with 8 incidents in the past 14 days. Walk score was inferior to Kentwood, but proximity to schools was far superior in Lancaster-Laredo. Proximity to the highway scored slightly lower, but neighborhood layout and upkeep were a touch above Kentwood. Average resale was far superior in Lancaster-Laredo, with an average sale value above $400,000. This was enough to give Lancaster-Laredo the slight edge and take the crown. Inglewood followed up next, posting only 2 incidents of crime in the past 14 days. Its walk score was slightly superior to Lancaster-Laredo, but proximity to schools was notably inferior. Proximity to highway scored slightly superior, while neighborhood layout and upkeep was inferior. Overall resale fell short, but due to the much better crimes rating, Inglewood steals this one away. Anders was up next, and this is the largest competitor consisting of Anders South, Aspen Ridge, and Anders on the Lake. Anders had 0 crime incidents in the past 14 days and a superior walk score. Proximity to schools and highway both fell slightly short, but neighborhood layout and upkeep was superior. With an average sale value in the area just shy of $450,000, Anders gives Inglewood a fair clubbing to take away the crown. Oriole Park West came up to bat, but got off to a rocky start with 5 incidents in the past 14 days. The walk score was slightly lower than Anders, while proximity to schools and highway was superior. Neighborhood layout and upkeep were comparable to Anders, but resale scored lower. Anders continues on. Westlake stepped into the ring, but again had a slow start with 3 incidents in the past 14 days. Walk score was inferior, and proximity to schools was comparable, but proximity to highway was superior. Neighborhood layout and upkeep were comparable, but overall resale fell short. Anders sneaks out a narrow victory here. Garden Heights was up next. There were 0 incidents in the past 14 days, however walkability scored lower than Anders, as did proximity to schools and the highway. Neighborhood layout was comparable, but upkeep scored slightly higher. Overall sale values were inferior in Garden Heights. Anders moves on again. Now would be a great time to remind you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. If you want more info like this about Central Alberta, make sure to hit the bell to be notified of new episodes. Southbrook now enters the race, again with 0 incidents of crime in the past 14 days. Walk score was comparable to Anders, proximity to school was slightly inferior, while proximity to highways were slightly superior to Anders. Neighborhood layout was comparable, but Southbrook was superior in both upkeep and overall resale, being the only neighborhood to average sale values over $550,000 in 2022. Despite this, it was not quite enough to dethrone Anders, who hangs on for another round. Next up is Timberlands, starting off slow with 4 crime incidents in the past 14 days and an inferior walk score. Proximity to schools was superior with Barry Wilson in the neighborhood, while proximity to highway was inferior. Neighborhood layout was notably inferior, while upkeep did come out superior for Timberland. Overall resale was fairly comparable, meaning Anders tallies more points overall. Clearview Ridge only had a couple incidents in the past 2 weeks, but unfortunately that wasn't as good as Anders with 0. Walk score was comparable and proximity to schools was superior. Access to highway was inferior, neighborhood layout was comparable, and upkeep was superior. Overall resale values were notably lower here, giving Anders another win. Vanier Woods and Vanier East was up next, with 1 more incident in the past 2 weeks and a lower walk score to boot. Proximity to schools was inferior, but proximity to highways was superior. Neighborhood layout was comparable and upkeep was superior to Anders, and comparable resale values. Anders sneaks out 1 more win. Last but not least was Evergreen. This neighborhood saw 0 incidents in the past 2 weeks, comparable to Anders. The walk score on this area was the lowest in town, no surprise as the neighborhood is currently detached from other subdivisions. Proximity to schools and highways was inferior, neighborhood layout was comparable, and upkeep was superior. With overall sale values averaging lower than Anders, Anders officially takes the title. So for a quick recap of how all our neighborhoods scored from lowest to highest, we have Johnstone Park at 27, Rosedale and Deer Park at 30, Evergreen at 33, Kentwood and Lancaster Laredo at 36, Timberlands at 37, Inglewood at 38, Vanier at 39 along with Oriole Park West, Garden Heights and Clearview Ridge at 40, and our top 3 new neighborhoods rolled out as Westlake with an overall score of 41, Southbrook with a score of 42, and Anders at the top with an overall score of 43. Thanks for tuning in. What do you think about our head-to-head breakdown of neighborhoods? Was it fair? How did your neighborhood stack up? What else might you want to know about these areas or about Red Deer in general? Drop us a note in the comments, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.